It's likely that many of us, when dealing with the toxicity of a narcissist, have fallen into the familiar emotional trap, trying to argue, sending long messages filled with hurt, or even forgiving them time and again with a faint hope that they will change. We think that if we express enough pain, they will see and understand. But do you know what? That's exactly what they want most. Your anger makes them feel powerful. Your tears make them feel valuable. And your forgiveness further reinforces the illusion that they are still fully in control of you. So, what truly is the fatal blow? Allow me to share a truth with you. What they genuinely cannot endure is not a loud confrontation, but the moment you become absolutely silent and quietly vanish from their lives. No accusations, no explanations, not a single trace for them to cling to and manipulate. It is a cold silence, yet it carries an extraordinary power. For narcissists, whose self-worth must always be built from external emotional reactions, your silence means they lose the mirror that reflects themselves. Their entire false self, fragile like a sandcastle they have built for so long, immediately faces the risk of collapse. They lose their emotional supply, they lose their crucial role in the play of their life, and most importantly, they fall into a void with no echo to prove their existence. Choosing silence after all the exhausting months of struggle and pain can be an incredibly difficult decision. But it is not running away. It is the moment you realize you don't need to fight to be heard, you don't need to beg to prove your worth, and you don't need to react just to show you still care. That silence is the most powerful declaration of the emotional maturity and inner strength you have found. This is not just the end of a relationship, it is the beginning of a journey to freedom. In today's sharing session, we will delve deeper into why silence is the narcissist's worst nightmare, and how your act of walking away without looking back becomes your greatest victory. Once you've made a decision to step out of the manipulative vortex, the first crucial understanding is the true nature of narcissistic supply, the energy source that keeps the narcissist alive. Do you know what drives them the most insane? It's not when you scream, point out their every mistake, or cry begging for answers. Strangely, all those emotional reactions, whether it's admiration, positive compliments, or even despair, rage, and prolonged accusations, are considered priceless gifts to them. A narcissist is not looking for love or connection in the way an ordinary person desires. What they seek is emotional fuel to sustain their manufactured false self. Psychologically, as long as you react, you exist in their world merely as a tool to provide validation. And that is precisely why silence is the one weapon they are never prepared to face. Silence marks the moment you decisively step out of the script they wrote for you. They set the emotional trap, but you refuse to walk into it. They throw the bait, but you decline to take it. They attempt to drag you into their familiar emotional chaos, but instead you quietly step back. In that instant, the narcissist not only loses control over you, but more significantly, they lose the mirror reflection of the identity they built for themselves. Picture their mind as a shattered glass. All this time, they've looked into your eyes and seen themselves as powerful, valuable, and in charge of everything. But when you choose silence, that mirror vanishes without a trace. Where do they look now? There is no one left to reflect the glamorous image they projected. They are forced to confront the internal emptiness, the one thing they have spent their entire lives running from. For you, silence might feel like a choice to protect yourself, but for the narcissist, it is a destructive psychological earthquake. It makes them feel like they are fading, being erased from your world, and in their distorted reality, losing control over you is synonymous with losing themselves entirely. Many people leaving a toxic relationship often get stuck in the mindset, I need to explain so they will understand, I need to argue so they will see my point, or I need closure to properly end this. But the truth is, you don't need to do any of that. A narcissist will never truly want to understand, they only want to win. The more you argue, the deeper you fall into the game they excel at. The more you explain, the more weapons you hand them to twist the narrative in their favor. Silence is the only way to leave the game altogether. That unspoken declaration, I am not playing anymore, carries more weight than any explanation. It demonstrates that you have risen above the cycle, no longer trapped in the script they wrote. The fascinating part is that when you choose silence, you are not just changing how you deal with them, you are changing yourself. You stop reacting out of instinct and begin acting from a place of calm, clarity, and intention. This is the clearest sign of emotional maturity, because the weak will always crave explanation, recognition, and reassurance. In contrast, the strong know that not everyone deserves a response. Ask yourself, how many times have you argued, hoping they would change, only to end in disappointment? How many times have you forgiven, only to have the cycle of manipulation restart? Every word, every effort you made disappeared into a cold void. In that silence, you reclaim control, not control over them, but control over your own emotions. You choose peace over noise. You choose to walk away instead of clinging, and you choose freedom over the endless loop. For the narcissist, that is a devastating defeat. They cannot accept the truth that you have slipped from their grasp, that you have found a strength they cannot destroy. In that silence, the truth resonates louder than ever. They were never as powerful as they thought, and you were never as weak as they wanted you to believe. The first and most important thing we need to comprehend is this. The narcissist does not possess a stable sense of self. They don't genuinely know who they are, lacking a solid identity built from inner values, self-respect, or self-awareness. Instead, they subsist through mirrors, specifically the emotional reactions, validation, and attention they siphon from you and everyone else around them. This false self is an architecture constructed from the praise you gave them, making them feel valuable, from your anger and fear, making them feel in control, and from your forgiveness, leading them to believe they are invincible. It is a magnificent castle, built entirely on sand, perpetually dependent on external supply to remain upright, because deep inside them lies a terrifying void that they have spent every ounce of energy trying to avoid. And then, when you choose silence, when you stop reacting, when you are no longer the reflecting mirror, that fragile structure begins to crack and collapse. Picture the narcissist as a stage actor who only truly exists when there is an audience. They only feel important when others are clapping, cheering, or even booing in protest. But when you, the main audience, quietly walk out of the theater, their play becomes meaningless. They fall into a vast emptiness, not knowing how to continue their performance. This collapse doesn't happen with a bang. You won't see them fall apart immediately. On the surface, they might even appear more radiant. They might post happy pictures on social media, smiling with a new person, or writing captions brimming with positive energy. Do not be fooled. That is not freedom. It is panic in disguise. It's a desperate attempt to find an alternative supply and test if you still care. Internally, they are fragmenting. Without your reactions, they lose the energy that sustained their false self. The internal void they have always sought to evade begins to surface: loneliness, anxiety, insecurity, and the paralyzing fear of being forgotten. Every day you maintain your silence is another day they are forced to confront the most terrifying question. If no one reacts to me, who am I? This is a real crisis, an addiction cut off from its source. They will start obsessively checking your social media, searching for any sign that you still care, because they are addicted to your attention the way someone is addicted to a drug. When they find no proof, they move to the next stage, rewriting the story. They cannot accept that you left due to their toxicity. To protect their false self, they twist the truth, telling others that you were too sensitive, too dramatic, or not mature enough to be with them. They make you the villain while painting themselves as the victim or the winner. This is their defense mechanism, because if they admitted the truth that you left because they were unhealthy, the entire wall of their ego would instantly crumble, and that is something they can never bear. Yet, no matter how much they twist the narrative, the truth still haunts them. The truth that you walked away, that you stayed silent, and that you are no longer under their control. To a narcissist, that is equivalent to losing themselves. This collapse is not like a major explosion. It is like a building rotting from within, the bricks falling one by one silently, but eventually everything will crash down into dust. And it all begins with one simple act of yours, choosing silence. The beautiful part is that you don't need to stick around to witness it. You don't need to check if they are remorseful or suffering, because the false self they constructed was never designed to last forever. Your silence simply cuts off the fuel, forcing it to fall faster. This is the paradox that plunges the narcissist into despair. They need you to survive, but you no longer need them. They fear being forgotten, while you are finding peace in forgetting them. As the two paths diverge, the truth becomes undeniable. Their false self has nowhere left to cling. When the narcissist's false self begins to crack, a process detailed in the previous section, they will never passively sit by and watch it collapse. Imagine an addict cut off from their supply who will resort to any means necessary to get their next fix. The narcissist is similar, utilizing every last weapon they have to try and pull you back in, aiming to test if they still hold even the slightest bit of power over your emotions. If we fail to recognize these maneuvers, the risk of falling back into the old cycle of manipulation is extremely high. We call these the last tactics, when they unleash everything, from the subtle to the ridiculous, with one sole purpose: to provoke a reaction from you. Initially, they will start with subtle check-ins. This might be a short, seemingly harmless text, just wanted to make sure you're okay, a random like on a very old post of yours, a familiar song sent via social media, or a sudden reappearance of an old memory photo in your chat. None of this is accidental. These are emotional hooks designed to test your boundaries. If you reply, even with a simple sentence or an emoji, what they truly hear in their mind is, "I still have control." That tiny confirmation is enough to prop up their faltering ego. When the subtle bait fails and your silence continues, they move to stage 2, the image game. Suddenly, they transform into the best version of themselves online, beaming with smiles, thriving professionally, and radiating positive energy. They post photos with new partners, grinning from ear to ear, traveling luxuriously, or writing cryptic captions like, "Not everyone deserves my energy," or "Finally, I can be myself." Friends, do not be deceived. Genuine happiness doesn't need to be broadcast as a public message. These are not signs of freedom, but indicators of panic. It is a desperate performance intended to send you one message: "See, I am better off without you." But deep underneath, it is proof that your silence is profoundly unsettling them. If neither bragging nor maintaining silence works, they will resort to the smear campaign. They attack your reputation, twisting the story to mutual friends, colleagues, or family, making you the source of all problems. She was just too sensitive. He never appreciated anything I did. The goal is not merely to harm you, but to protect themselves. By distorting the truth, they cast themselves as the victim or the hero, maintaining the illusion of control and preventing their ego from disintegrating. More dangerously, the fourth tactic is fake remorse, also known as hoovering. They will appear with sweet apologies, carefully crafted words that sound like they have finally realized their mistakes, talking about change, growth, and wanting to close this chapter peacefully. Initially, you might mistake this for genuine maturity, but it is merely the reboot of the manipulation cycle. If you allow them back in, the relationship will immediately revert to the old pattern: manipulation, control, and hurt. Finally, if every other tactic fails, the narcissist may escalate to extremes. Some turn cold and cruel, punishing you for daring to stay silent. Others swing the opposite way, playing the pathetic victim, posting about their pain, even hinting that they are falling apart. Whether it is extreme coldness or extreme weakness, the purpose remains the same: to drag you back through guilt, pity, or anger. All of these last tactics share one common denominator. They do not stem from love, but from the fear of losing control. Every move is simply a test. Will you still react? If you react, the old cycle restarts. If you continue to stay silent, they will escalate until they have nothing left to cling to. And at that point, they are forced to confront the most terrifying truth of all. I have truly lost this power. Remember this: you don't need to play their game anymore. You don't need to reply, defend yourself, or prove who is right or wrong, because your silence is already the clearest answer, and that is the one thing they can never endure. From the moment you chose silence, an undeniable truth became clear. The two paths have diverged completely. You have ascended to a new level of emotional maturity, while the narcissist remains precisely where they have always been stuck. You no longer feel the need to shout to be heard or argue to prove your righteousness. You understand that not everyone possesses the capacity to accept the truth, and forcing it will only hurt you more. From this point forward, you prioritize internal peace over all external noise and chaos. While you begin your journey of healing journaling, seeking professional support, spending time with loved ones, or simply learning to enjoy stillness, the narcissist drowns in the chaos they created. They are not seeking recovery. They are only seeking new distractions, a superficial relationship, a surface-level achievement, a staged performance on social media, all to avoid the internal emptiness they will never dare confront. This contrast exposes a painful yet necessary truth. You are growing, and they remain a child trapped in an adult body. So many of their behaviors are indistinguishable from a toddler throwing tantrums for attention, demanding control, and insisting that everything revolve around them. You have stepped out of that game, no longer the unwilling parent in a relationship that should have been equal. You don't have to soothe, explain, or prop up their fragile ego anymore. What they fear most is realizing you have changed permanently, that you are not coming back easily. Your silence is the unspoken declaration that you have become steady, no longer swayed by hollow promises, baiting texts, or fake apologies. You stand firm while they stumble, and deep down they know that once you have reached this point, you will never revert to your former self. The distance between you widens daily. You move toward peace, they cling to drama. You build your self-worth internally. They still depend on external eyes to feel alive. You choose freedom, they choose control. Silence becomes the uncrossable boundary. For you, it is liberation. For them, it is a sentence that reminds them they have lost power, and that is the real pain, not losing you, but losing the ability to control you. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't need an apology, you don't need them to admit their faults, and you don't need an audience to confirm you were right. By choosing silence, you have already said it all. It is not giving up, but a firm declaration that you refuse to continue playing a game you were never meant to win in the first place. The narcissist may keep performing, smiling radiantly online, creating an image that they are better off without you. But you know the truth. Those performances are nothing more than shields covering internal panic. Truly happy people don't need to prove it to the world. Your silence has stripped away their greatest power, the power to define your emotions. In the past, a single text or a hollow promise was enough to pull you back into the old cycle. But now, your silence has built a wall they cannot breach. Each time they try to knock, only emptiness echoes back. And in that emptiness, they realize the painful truth. This time, they have truly lost you. As they unravel, you discover what you have longed for all along: freedom. Freedom from the psychological games, freedom from living in constant defense mode, freedom from the fear of sudden rage. You reclaim your space, your peaceful sleep, and your genuine laughter. That is the greatest victory. Not conquering them, but conquering the fear and dependency within yourself. The irony is that to a narcissist, your silence is never just silence. It is a carved message that you have escaped their control. They may mock, dismiss, or smear your name to others, but deep down they know you have reached a level they will never touch, the level of a calm, whole, and unshakable adult who refuses to be chained to toxic emotions. They fear being forgotten more than anything, and you, at last, have learned how to forget. When you let go, when you choose not to look back, you reclaim the most precious gift of all, your own life. For them, silence is a crushing defeat. But for you, it is the ultimate victory, a quiet, profound, and permanent triumph, measured in peace, not arguments. In that silence, you are no longer a victim in their story. You have become the author of your own life's script.